Would like to pass on the word to Kaumudi Goda, who will be taking you through today's topic, which is about leading with compassion in times of uncertainty. Kaumudi goes by the name of KG for short. She is a trained lawyer. She worked in the US as a lawyer and then made a shift into HR and now consulting and training. I suspect that she made that shift from law into consulting and training in human resources because she's too compassionate and empathetic to work as a lawyer. KG, over to you.
Thank you, Meta. Welcome, everyone. I'm so delighted that you were able to join us today. At MetaMind Training, we provide learning programs on a range of leadership transformation topics. We do this through consulting and business advisory, change management, skills profiling, coaching, training, and mentoring. If you have any questions or are interested in any of these topics, do reach out to us. That's our team. You have Axel Johansson, Ivana Fertitta, Meta, the founder and CEO of MetaMind Training. I'm KG, I'm the Chief Operating Officer for MetaMind Training, and we have Binu Balan, who's the Director for Business Development. My favorite quote on compassion, and perhaps very relevant to these times, is from The Fellowship of the Ring, written by J.R.R. Tolkien. Frodo, one of the main characters, says, "I wish we weren't going through these times." And Gandalf says, "So do I, and so do all of us are going through these times. But it's not for us to decide. It's all we can do is decide what can we do with the time we have." So my offer to you today is, let us consider compassion in workplace. My goals are simple. I want to share with you what compassion is about and what it manifests as in the workplace, build a business case for compassionate leadership, share some practical strategies and tips on how you can role model and embed compassionate leadership with your teams today. And then we'll make some time for questions and answers. We want this to be very engaging. So please do share any thoughts or questions that come up for you in the chat box, and we'll take it at Q&A. And Meta is going to keep an eye on it, and then she'll remind you in case you don't speak up at the end. All right? Let's go on. Tibetan monk Rinpoche wrote in 1992 in his book, The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, a definition of compassion that has been thoroughly embraced by OD specialists and behavioral scientists. He said compassion is not simply feeling sympathy or being aware of someone's suffering, but being determined to do whatever is possible about it. How is it different from empathy? Empathy is the ability to think from someone else's perspective. You know how we say, walk in someone else's boots to understand their viewpoint? That's what empathy is. It's about being able to see it from someone else's perspective. It's about able to feel someone else's emotions. Compassion is that thought and feeling plus action. It's about wanting to do something about it. Why compassion? Let's do a quick poll today. I'd like for you all to try and see if this works for you. Meta, can you launch the poll, please? It's question number 1. Is compassion even practical and possible in these times? Let us know if the poll question has not popped up on your screen. You can always press poll and see if that works. It should be a simple question with some answers. All right, 10 of you have taken the poll. Those who have not yet, I hope it's not because you're not able to see it. Okay, the question is compassionate leadership practical and possible in these times? most of you have said most of the time it's possible. And that's brilliant news. And with good people who care about this topic and think it's accessible to them. Excellent. So let's close the poll. Stop sharing. All right, so let's go to the next one. So why compassion? What's the business case for compassion, really? 1 out of 3 people, as a matter of fact, in today's times, will switch jobs if they feel they're not working for a good company. 40% will happily work longer hours if they feel they're with a company that values them, where they feel valued. And 56% are more likely to stay in their jobs if they're working for a company that they feel cares for them. 80% of employers worldwide feel they've created atmosphere where staff can come and share their problems with them. 80% of bosses worldwide feel they do this for their teams. Only 10% of staff feel they work in teams where they can share their problems. That's a huge discrepancy. 40% of employees worldwide report excessive pressure at least once a week at workplace. And 25% directly attribute poor mental health to work. A 2016 UK survey showed that in UK alone, 11.7 million working days were lost across the whole population over a year due to work-related stress. Here's another catastrophic statistic. 42% of consumers will vote with their wallet if they feel your company is not a good company. They don't want to buy products from bad guys. That's something to take care of, especially in these times when we're all faced with tough choices and the temptation is very high to make decisions for the short-term gain. So, simple and straightforward, isn't it? When you create compassionate workplaces, your employees experience lower stress levels. They experience an increased ability to withstand setbacks. That is resilience. They experience a higher sense of psychological safety and trust, which in turn results in increased collaboration and creativity. Which company in these days can afford not to be innovative and agile? Compassion at workplace results in higher job satisfaction and employee engagement, which in turn results in lower attrition, more positive customer service, care, and pride. My favorite example about this is the Mumbai terrorist attack in 2011. Tata company owns an iconic hotel in Mumbai called Taj, and it was the epicenter of the terrorist attack. And HBR actually did a case study on it, that the staff members of that hotel during the terrorist attack, when their life was at peril, ignored the danger to themselves and shared their customers, take care of them, and made sure that their customers and clients staying, the guests of the hotel, were safe. And HBR explored what would make ordinary people heroes in a time of crisis, where they forego self-interest to help out. And the reason they found is simple. Tata has had a long-held practice of creating a sense of family. The employees all felt one with the brand and wanted to, till the very end, make sure that customer service got the highest. That's the reason why we have a saying in India, it's called Wow Taj, means wow, that's Taj. And one of the things they did is within 2 weeks of the terrorist attack, they actually created a foundation, and they said anybody in the country who experienced loss or trauma of any kind, it didn't matter whether they were employees or not, could come to them and they'd help them out. And that foundation is still, it's called, I think, Rising Phoenix. You can still check it out. But these are some of the things that Tata, the company, does to foster this kind of loyalty and pride in the brand. This ripple effect has been scientifically proven. Acts of charity, acts of compassion and care not only make the receiver of the good act feel good, but also the giver. So when you do something good, not only is the person who's getting that benefit feeling good, you feel good as well. This ripple effect means that when you're a good, compassionate leader, all of your team members will start mimicking your behavior, and a very loving workplace will get created. This, of course, results in higher productivity. Are you convinced yet? What does compassion manifest like then in the workplace? What does it look like? Rolf Jeffrey, who is a famous organizational psychologist, said that there are 5 elements for the workplace compassion. First one is to be alive to the suffering of others. Be sensitive, have that radar for when teammates, either through their body language or the way they're behaving, look like they're in some problem. The second one is be non-judgmental. Understand that somebody else's perspective and experience of life can be different from yours. And it's a very human thing, but it takes mindfulness to be non-judgmental. The third thing is the ability to tolerate personal distress. Brené Brown talks about being there for somebody else. If you do work on yourself so that you do not get triggered and have knee-jerk responses to somebody else's trauma, you're going to be able to provide that service to others, where you are still and calm while someone else is sharing their distress. That is a skill set you can build. It's a muscle that you can build. Empathic is sensitivity, being able to show that you understand what's happening. And the most important, perhaps, for our session today is the importance of taking appropriate action. When someone shares something with you, when you observe that someone is in distress, can you take action? Let's do a quick poll here, or no, let me first take you through this and then let's do a quick poll. Are you a compassionate leader? Remember, compassion at workplace is empathy plus action. Here are statements. Think for yourself whether this is true for you or not. I actively promote a team culture of trust, safety, and non-judgment. I encourage and empower others to respond to a colleague's difficulties. I show care and concern towards people in my team. I understand the value of sharing problems with others. My team knows and they will try. How are these statements landing on you? Do you feel you are able to role model and do these things at work? Let's try a next set of questions. This one was about your actions. Are you empowering others in your team to be compassionate as well? People in my team are in regular contact with each other. My team has bonds that make them feel seen, felt, known, not alone. Have you ever worked in a workplace where you felt no one understands you, you don't at all fit in, you stick out like a sore thumb? It's a devastating thing to have to come to a workplace like that. Does your team experience it differently? Do they feel like part of a group where they're seen, heard, felt, known? When my team notices a change in the mood of a colleague, they inquire further. Are they receptive? Are they sensitized? My team knows about each other's lives and pays attention. Do you have opportunities where you bond with each other and exchange stories about what's going on? My team feels safe sharing problems. Do you have that? Psychological safety and trust. Very important. Let's do a quick poll. Now that I've taken you through these 10 variants of behaviors that will not only enable you to be a compassionate leader, but also empower others in your team, let's do poll number 2. Let me know if it does not pop up on the top of your screen. The question is, are you a compassionate leader? Please feel free to send us a message if you don't see the poll on your screen right now. All right, I see 12 out of 20 have voted. Let's see if we can get the numbers up a bit more. Excellent. Thank you for that, Meta. Most of the time. That's a good thing. Thank you for sharing that. I don't want to pretend that compassionate leadership is easy at all times. There are some things in particular that I want you to watch out for. The first thing is bias. I do a lot of work in bias, and it's a human condition. Bias is neither good nor bad. Our brains are simply hardwired to come up with opinions when facts are presented to us. When we come across anything, human beings simply come up with an opinion and response. It's normal. But this is tricky when you're opening yourself up mindfully to somebody else's feelings, thoughts, and wanting to help. The way you respond to someone sharing something with you and the kind of action you choose to take in response to that sharing can be impacted by bias. What's important is to make sure you pay attention to the fact that somebody else's experience and somebody else's perspective is different, not less or not more. Another one is loss of boundaries. It's very tricky in workplaces, isn't it? If you are a boss, can you also be a best friend at all times? Sometimes being a leader is about making tough calls, and sometimes you simply cannot serve as a friend in that time. Be mindful of the fact that there might be certain boundaries that you need to maintain, and that opening yourself up to be receptive and sensitive to somebody else does not mean that you cannot act decisively and make calls that you need to. The last one, perhaps, is most relevant to our times, is compassion fatigue. Any given time, we have so much loss and suffering coming at us from various sources. If it's not natural disasters, it is political disparities somewhere, it is people having hardship, people losing family members, people having emotional problems. So many problems coming at you all at once. You're supposed to care about the environment or people who have difficulties at home or the bad economy. What? Our next masterclass actually focuses on the self-care you need, and make sure that you always don't give away so much of yourself and drain yourself out that you're unable to serve as a good leader anymore. Watch out for compassionate fatigue. So, we're experiencing a worldwide experiment, aren't we? Suddenly, everybody is working virtually. What I'd like to offer to you is the idea that people aren't working from home. All of us are working through a global disaster despite being at home. So with this said, what are some things to keep in mind? Be aware that people have different abilities. Not everybody is a genius at Zoom who's suddenly completely comfortable working from home. They have a beautiful office, airy with fresh daylight and greenery around them, absolute quiet and ability to be highly productive, no matter that the world is in shambles around them. Not possible. How many of us thought about the fact that when you wear a mask, all of a sudden, people who have hearing disability can no longer read lips? It is hard for people to cope with drastic changes. And this hardship does not mean they are less able members of the team. It means we need to be patient and together figure out ways in which we can help them overcome it. Because remember, we can also have challenges and we need to make it safe in the team for us to share with each other and be vulnerable. Geographical disparities. It's a global village. We're all working with people in different countries, different regions. Even the lockdown is not the same in every country. Disasters have varying degrees of consequences in different geographies. Sometimes it's the daylight saving time even that can make a difference. So be aware that not every member of your team is in exactly the same spot, having the same experience as you. Lifestyle disparity. How many of you have noticed that some teammates have a more tough time at home than others? Noisier, smaller living spaces, having to take care of dependents who suddenly do not have adequate care because of a lockdown. If nurses, if babysitters, if parents who usually watch the kids are suddenly no longer available because of social, physical distancing, and you have little kids running over, what's the lifestyle difference? What if someone copes with their anxiety by not having to have work in their living space? How are they responding when suddenly work is on their couch in their bedroom? What's the disparity in lifestyle and how is it impacting your teammates? Economic disparity. Perhaps one of the most heart-rending things that I saw recently was migrant workers who had to walk for miles to get back home because they work in the city, and when work shuts down and they're laid off, they cannot stay there anymore because they cannot afford it. They do not have family support, do not have the means to live and eat in the big cities. So they had to migrate. Economic disparity can be catastrophic for many team members. Let's talk about urban poverty. Many people I know, professionals, live from paycheck to paycheck because they have economic burdens. They have bills to pay, which means every paycheck counts. And so what is the impact on their mental mindset in terms of their emotional availability when such things happen? People are not disposable. Essential services, disposable people. That's a terrible equation to have in the world, isn't it? Political disparity. This is a tricky one. And I work in bias, and it's a difficult one for all of us. I think civil discourse has pretty much died thanks to internet, but it is very important with virtual workforces. Different people have different opinions and different responses to how various countries are managing. They have opinions about what may have caused this pandemic and how it should be dealt with. We are not thought police. We are going to allow people to have different perspectives, be able to respectfully disagree, and perhaps not even talk about contentious issues in favor of creating positive workforces and positive workplaces. How did this sit for you? Share in the chat box if you have come across any of these disparities in your team, or if you have thoughts on how to better manage this. As we're dealing with virtual teams, as an executive coach, I also keep in mind the fact that there are 5 dimensions of wellness that all of us should pay attention to. It's a very volatile, uncertain time. Let's face it, none of us have faced this kind of a situation ever before. Physical wellness. Are people making sure to get some exercise and some way of moving about to keep themselves physically well? Physical well-being is absolutely important. Emotional well-being. Are they connecting with people who make them feel better? Are they investing in self-care? Intellectual stimulation is perhaps very important, especially in these dark times. Are they having opportunities to learn and improve themselves that increases self-esteem? Spiritual well-being. A lot of companies are offering meditation subscriptions. It's because some support is required by some people. Not everybody, but some do. So let us invest and make sure that your teammates have the support they need on this one as well. You can certainly check in. A lot of churches, for example, are conducting mass online. A lot of other supports. My favorite examples are companies that are actually paying for meditation subscription. Whatever strikes to you as appropriate and valid for your team, think about that. Finally, social. The number one feedback that everyone across the world is united on is the biggest thing they miss is about being able to mix with people and have that social interaction. Physical distancing and being in a lockdown for weeks on end is extremely tough. It's extremely difficult to cope with day on day. Are you making time in your team meetings to bond with each other and just replicate a water cooler conversation kind of a thing, where there's no pressure, no judgment, you're just sharing what's happening, maybe some light-hearted banter? Make time for it. A lot of platforms are allowing it. There are platforms, I think one is called House Party, that's quite popular right now. They have games. I know teams that are organizing quizzes. What are you doing to ensure that there is light-hearted socializing, even as teams feel extreme pressure to be productive? What are some do's and don'ts? Be transparent. My favorite example on transparency is Angela Merkel and PM Lee. In their response to the COVID-19 crisis, they shared very clearly what the outlook is, what the government is doing, and what people can expect in the coming weeks. And they followed it up with a lot of action. And that's my favorite example. Another one is in terms of clarity of communication, Microsoft very quickly stepped up and absolutely made it clear that teams are going to be working from home. Emotional support. Many companies are creating care packages. My favorite one included meal order services for people stuck at home, uh, related to the zip code. So wherever you are, a list of restaurants that will deliver there, helplines for people who might be in emotional distress. One newsreader put a little sign very recently for abuse victims. A lot of problems happen at home, and we have to be cognizant of the fact that people may need emotional support. Are you putting a care package together? Technology support. Working from home is hard. It's a huge change. I know companies in India right now who are funding electricity bills, internet bills, and providing laptops for teams that typically don't receive laptops to work from home. Are you providing the technology support that your teams need to work from home? Are you providing the learning support? Again, the participation of the workforce virtually has gone up to an insane level. Give them the opportunity to scale themselves up, to upskill and reskill so that they feel they can land on their feet no matter what the outcome. An excellent example for me on this is Marriott. Marriott actually had to lay off a huge number of people. It's, of course, the hotel chain in the US, and they had to lay off people. And they provided care packages to all the workers who were laid off. They were shown how to refresh their resumes and sources to industries where there is actually an uptick in hiring. What are you doing to provide support to your teams who may be in peril right now? What are things you shouldn't be doing? Don't promote self-interest. There is a time and place for healthy competition in the workforce, and you do want teams to focus on profitability and productivity, but really driving it to the extreme is probably not a great idea. An example would be a recent corporate example was warehouse employees for an extremely popular and important, even essential global service. Warehouse employees got sick from COVID-19. Not only did they not get any time off, the whistleblower who pointed out that there was infection in the warehouse was fired. People are watching you, people in the ecosystem, your employees, your clients, your suppliers, all of them are watching you. People will vote with their wallet. Another to definitely avoid is blame culture and disrespect and incivility. What about companies that are stealing personal protection equipment meant for another neighboring country and diverting it to themselves? What about celebrities who are misusing their connections and wealth to get unnecessary COVID-19 testing instead of allowing people in real need who are in peril to get tested? An influencer lost over 3,000 followers in a few hours because people found her behavior to be extremely incivil and disrespectful, thoughtless. Watch out for what you are showcasing with the way you handle your teams. What are 5 good questions to ask? As a coach, I would tell you, invest in getting into the habit of asking open questions. Questions that are not yes and no, but elicit long responses. How can I support you right now? Tell me more. Help me understand. Science shows that when you ask a follow-up question, the person you're speaking with feel you're truly invested in them and you care for them. Would you like me to talk with you or just listen? Respect the autonomy of the person you're showing compassion to. Do not infantilize them. Give them a choice. Sometimes people don't want to share anything with you. Sometimes they want you to only listen and not solve. And sometimes they want you to help them solve something. Ask them what they prefer and then respect it. And also respect the confidentiality. Is there anything else you would like to share? Because sometimes you don't know what question to ask, so you can just throw it open to them. And the last one is my favorite. Let us acknowledge that we don't know everything. Leaders need not be omnipotent and omniscient. So they might be team members who have excellent ideas or actually are able to be more productive than you thought of them as. Ask them, do you have any ideas that can help our team? Be inclusive in the way you lead your teams. My favorite trick is yes-anding anything. It is not without problems. It is not to indicate that there's only positivity that's available to us right now. We can express that challenges exist and also bolster someone's confidence. You can set high expectations in terms of performance and also provide services to help your team accomplish it. You can be decisive and make the tough calls and also provide opportunities to participate in the decision making. My favorite example there is one that I've already shared. For example, J&J had a Tylenol recall way back when, and it's still considered a very good example where they made the call that they're going to recall product from the shelf because there's some tampering and contamination. The result of that call was that they had some disagreement within the company, but in the long run, employees really appreciated that they do it. You can make a call. Compassion is not about being weak or wishy-washy or not being able to be decisive. As long as you're clear and you allow participation of people, they'll appreciate it and they'll get it. And you need not be perfect all the time. Admitting vulnerability and sharing inspirational goals can be very, very important. And lastly, something I've already shared before, there are linkages between roles and hierarchies, and sometimes they play an important role in your ability to do your job. We can acknowledge that and also try and reduce unnecessary micromanagement and constraints on people's independence at this time, because we're all in the same boat. We don't know where we're headed, and we can invest in thinking together and problem solving together. This is what I have for you today. I hope you found this useful, and I'm going to turn it over to Meta.
Thank you very much, KG. And to all of you on the call, I can tell you that KG, she is not only preaching these things, she definitely also lives this. Whenever we have team meetings, she will also say yes, and she is not the typical lawyer as I have an image of lawyers in my mind. It is about building bridges and combining things that are seemingly contradictory. Before we go to question and answers, I would like to share some of our upcoming masterclasses with you. So next week on April 16th, KG will talk about self-compassion, as she mentioned a little bit earlier. We will then on April 23rd have how leaders can pave the way forward, where KG and I will be in a discussion together. And the last one in our 5 masterclass series is with Axel Johansson, who will talk about leading through change. As I mentioned in the beginning, we will have some follow-up emails with you. We will be sending out some offers in addition to the slides and the recording of today. Next slide, please, KG. One of the offers that we have right now is a 20-minute free discovery call for coaching. Coaching is about getting out the answer from you, like discovering where you can discover what the best decision is in uncertain times as we have right now. We are non-judgmental people, coaches who will challenge you to find the answer within yourself. So those are the different coaches we have. There is, well, Ivana, she is a psychologist, and the executive coaches on our team are Axel Johansson and KG and myself, Meta Johansson. So with that, I would like to open the floor for questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to, we are so few people that unmuting yourself and asking the question directly is absolutely okay. And as I mentioned, feel free to ask any questions in the chat box as well, or even anonymously to me. Who would like to start with a question? Perhaps whilst you are thinking Oh, we have here from Rahul. What are your thoughts on financial and mental wellness? That's a very interesting one. KG, financial and mental wellness.
Neurodiversity and economic diversity or disparity are critical. They are very problematic and very much on the forefront of everyone's consciousness right now. Organizations are doing a lot. If I can take the example of local companies, Singapore has already announced a resilience budget. What available resources can you tap into to make sure that you're able to take care of the financial well-being of your company as well as your staff? Similarly, for mental wellness, a lot of online resources are available. Have you looked up what resources are available in your locality for your teams, and have you made those resources known to them? Those are two simple things you can certainly do. I hope it works.
Rahul, does that answer your question? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, Rahul.
In fact, I'll
yes, it
unmute
does.
you. It does. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
What is your company doing right now on these two factors?
So I think what we are doing as an organization, definitely we are trying to keep everyone engaged, and if there's any anxiety, you're kind of, getting that knocked off. And second, we are tied up with a couple of counseling organizations, so they can help them to, get them to mental peace. And if they have any specific anxiety related to financial wellness as well, they can, get in touch with a certified counselor and share their views, or at least get them heard of. That's more from mental and financial. But from financial perspective, I think as an organization, all of us, all our employees know that we are currently in the growth phase, so it's not going to impact us much from a COVID perspective, like unlike a lot of other organizations. So we are in good shape compared to the financial status.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's brilliant. So what I heard was access to financial advisors as well as counselors who can help employees who are in distress. That's really amazing. Wingy Sampao says, how might we replenish our compassion?
I'm trying to unmute, but I believe that Wingy, I don't know how to pronounce it. Can you unmute yourself? I'm not sure whether that's happening, so go ahead. And how might we replenish our compassion? I love the question. KG, what's your take on that? How can we replenish our compassion in today's day and age where we're drained because of the uncertainty and all the challenges we're facing?
I agree. That's an extremely, extremely important question. And self-care is absolutely the most important thing you can do. Take care of yourself. What do you need to do on the 5 dimensions of wellness that I shared? Are you investing in yourself? Are you making sure you're taking time off? Sometimes it's okay to say, time out. I need to be quiet for some time. Take that time to take care of yourself. And it's perfectly okay to say, this conversation is distressing me as well. Shall we take a break and come back to it later? As a leader, when you role model the fact that you cannot drain yourself out, and when you share your own vulnerabilities, you are in fact going to help others a lot more. It is a tough time. Everyone is suffering. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Does that help?
Wingy has difficulties unmuting him or herself, my excuses. So we won't get an answer to that, at least not with voice. I would say...
Wingy, do please share if any of you have self-care practices to replenish yourself, please do share. That's a very good question. And I'm sure all of your suggestions will be valuable.
What you've also shared in the past, KG, about simply allowing yourself to be compassionate, right? I mean, in today's day and age, very often we believe that we must put on this mask and we must be professional, and compassionate is not necessarily always part of that image that we have of people being professional.
Absolutely. So right. Sandeep says, Are you seeing any implication in the way different companies are managing the current situation with compassion? A high compassion versus low compassion? Yes, absolutely. We are seeing definitely some companies that are rising up to the occasion and showcasing that this is an opportunity to be a better human being and a better leader. My favorite current example are cab companies in Italy that are specially running to take and ferry healthcare workers back and forth. Here in Singapore as well, companies have announced it. Anand Mahindra and Tata company immediately announced that they're investing in COVID-19 cure in India. Microsoft, as a matter of fact, within weeks, in fact, there is a very famous TED talk by Bill Gates from 2015, I think, when he raised the alarm about the devastating effects of a pandemic like this. And he immediately launched it. And in fact, this morning I read that he's already hopeful that they might be coming up with human trials at this point. So when companies invest in this kind of actions where they take care of the community and behave as a business for good, not just business for profit, it creates a brand that is simply not replicable by any other action. And where companies are behaving badly, where they are treating people as if they're dispensable and unimportant, you are seeing that they have a bad reputation and an impact on brand that they cannot very quickly recover from. So it takes a little effort, but it can actually result in benefit or a disadvantage for decades. There's a company here, Casbah. Restaurants had plummeting sales, and the restaurant Casbah actually immediately announced that even though they're running at a loss, they're going to be sharing food packages. What have you heard that really inspired you in terms of what companies are doing to show compassion? Sandeep?
Well, I think that's a great answer, and Kaumudi. And the main thing, I've seen a lot of work that's been done by the Tatas, not which is really increased the brand, because and Wipro, okay, that's really increased the brand, the way they've addressed this situation. So I believe there's going to have a huge spillover effect even beyond the COVID-19 and in the years to come.
Absolutely. I think one recent example is SS Roosevelt, a Navy ship in the US. Captain Brett Crozier raised an alarm that he had several hundreds of young Navy personnel on the ship, and that he was afraid that they were in very high danger of having mass infections. And because he raised the alarm, he was fired. And there's a very moving example, a scene where he was walking off the ship and he got standing ovation from every person on the ship. As a direct result of that poor handling, the Secretary for Navy Shipping in US resigned this morning, I think, or yesterday. So there are absolute consequences to bad behavior and treating people badly. Neha Satija said something. She says, how can leaders keep their teams happy during uncertain times when they have to make tough decisions or policies? I'd invite all of you to share any ideas you have on this. My take, Neha, is that it is in fact not something that you should even try. When times are tough, be honest and be clear and transparent that this is a devastating decision to make. A lot of companies are doing this. For example, Marriott CEO was actually on a video making this announcement, tears in his eyes, saying that it felt like a body blow to have to lay people off. They were extremely regretful and remorseful. So they were transparent about the fact that they are having to lay off people. They shared what sacrifices they themselves were making, and they shared what they're doing to help people who are now in trouble because of the layoffs. Transparency, vulnerability, and doing whatever you can to help is actually something that is a lot more productive than trying to overextend yourself and make it positive. Does that make sense?
KG, this is Manisha. I can also say what our company is doing currently. I mean, we have been working from home. Hi. We have been working from home immediately after Chinese New Year when we started getting cases in Singapore. So our HR was very, very clear that anybody who is capable of working from home, please do so. Then every, I think 2 weeks, our senior management comes online, the global leadership teams, and kind of addresses the employees as to what we are doing, what are the next steps. So they're being very transparent. They are saying that, okay, currently we don't have any plans of laying off people, but we will see as situation emerges and considering the volatility and everything. So they have been very transparent in terms of telling us what's the next step. My boss here in Singapore has been absolutely very clear and transparent in what we are doing. We have those water cooler moments every other day just to make things lighter. I mean, we do have sales and number pressure, but then whenever we start meetings, at least we have those some kind of personal talks to kind of cheer everybody up. And today was like everybody got a parcel delivered to their houses with a work from home kit, which had some Milo packets and noodles and some drinks and some office stationery. Just a very small thing, but then it just kind of livened up everyone's mood. So small things that companies are doing to just keep the spirits of employees high. I thought that should be highlighted.
Oh,
And
what
you
a
did a
wonderful.
wonderful session.
Thank you, Anisha, and thank you for sharing. That's so beautiful. And I think it should be noted that, in fact, sales is quite a tough profession at ordinary times. And it's wonderful that they're doing this despite all of the difficulty that lies ahead. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. How inspirational.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Neha, for sharing your question as well. Okay, I think that we've finished our questions. Can we
We've
launch
gone through our questions, yes. Sorry?
Can we launch poll number 3?
Poll number 3. There you go.
Is the poll number 3 up in front of all of you? Should be a straightforward question. Let me know if you're not able to see it.
No.
Okay, one more time. There you go. Is this working now?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
All right. It should be poll number 3. Question is, has this session provided some ideas? Let's try again.
Is it on the screen now?
Relaunch the poll, Meta. Maybe that's.
I did already twice. Is it on the screen right now?
No.
Nope.
I don't know why it's not working. So we have to skip this one.
How about this? Are you able to see it now, folks?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for sharing. We are all learning Zoom as we go. All right, folks, let us know if you're not able to see the question in front of you. Fairly straightforward. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed having you join us today. I hope that you enjoyed the session as well. Keep an eye out.
Can you share the results of the poll somehow?
Yes, yes. Are you able to see?
No.
I may be able to share it from, no, I can't share it either. That's strange that the last one is not. I can read it aloud to you. that out of the people who voted, there's one person who completely disagree, and thank you for sitting through 54 minutes of masterclass, although you don't agree with that there's relevant content here. There's one person that somewhat agrees and the rest agrees. The majority completely agrees that the session provided a few ideas and inspiration to incorporate more compassion at their workplaces. So thank you very much.
And do share with
was
us any
a brilliant
suggestions
session.
on
Thank you very
how
much.
the session. Thank you.
All right. Have a great evening, and I hope to see you again next week.